Alright, what is going on, everyone? My name is John, and recently I reached Veteran Rank 14 with my Dragon Knight. I know I made a Veteran Rank 1 build. This is essentially an update to that one, so if you haven't seen it, I'll leave an annotation somewhere. But I just wanted to show you, like, what has changed throughout the 14 levels that I've gotten, different skills. It's kind of like a build video. And this time I have a add-on that shows damage counter so you guys can see it as well. So I'm going to show you my build, my items, and then we're going to show you a little preview of how this would work in action. Alright, so most of the skills are generally the same, but some of them are different just because I've been playing with a lot of good people lately, and they've been helping with that, and just in general I have better gear since it's 14, so it's like really endgame. So the only thing I'm missing would be a helm, which adds a little bit of DPS to it. Well, not really adds DPS, but just like procs an ability, which adds more DPS. Alright, so anyway, at 14, what I'm using is a 4-piece martial knowledge set. 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the staff. So what this does is when you use it, it gives you a lot of spell damage. As you know, I'm a magic Dragon Knight, and what I pretty much use spell damage for the most part. So spell damage is up here with the 4-piece, 1, 2, 3, 4, and yeah, that's it. So that gives you a plus in spell damage, which is primarily why you want to use the set, and everything else doesn't really matter. Of course, you want to have your good pieces, like your larger pieces like helmet, chest piece, legs, with health on it, just because if you don't, you're using all light armor and your health would be really low, and doing dungeons with all of that is really not optimal. So that's the 4-piece, and then our 2-piece adroitness sash sash and necklace. We use these even though the cap is at veteran 12. We get a huge 164 spell damage bonus, and that's good. Now our Torx pack, this one, it really doesn't matter, but I guess it's the best for more spell damage. Like, I'm using dual wield one-handers, which give 173. Don't worry about the 3rd piece, you won't really need it right now. I'm just waiting for the helmet, and then I'll be switching up the legs, or switching that to martial knowledge, and then it'll be only 2 pieces. So the reason why we use that, it's cheap and easy to make, and it gives a lot of spell damage, which is essentially our goal in this game. So now the expensive part are the Citadel's Light Ring. They go for about 100 to 120,000 gold each. So you could use alliance points, which you get in PvP Citadel, but yeah, these are probably the most expensive part of this build, because you can buy them from, the only way you can really get them is PvPing, or you can buy them with gold. So these, it gives 171 spell damage, plus you can enchant them with additional spell damage, so that's about like another 300 almost. And what I'm looking for right now is the Scoria set. Now you see here, when damaging enemy, you have a chance to drop a meteor on them, which is like an additional 7,000 damage plus flame AoE, I guess. So that's pretty good. The only thing I need to do is actually get the helmet for it, but I'm using the 1-piece right now just because it gives about 1,000 extra health, so staying alive is generally a good idea, right? So yeah, overall I'm pretty much a flame Dragon Knight, which means I use fire for all my skills. And yeah, so let's show you the character page, the attributes. I have all magic, as you may imagine. My spell damage is around 2,300 right now. It should go up a little bit more once I actually like upgrade everything to legendary, because most of it is purple right now. So the optimal spell damage you want to have is between 2,300 to 2,500 without buff, and with the buff you should have like 2,800, 2,900. Now I know the spell and physical resistance looks really low. That's because it is, and the critical, you're gonna have something to boost it a little bit later. Alright, so let's go talk about our abilities right now. As you may imagine, one hand is my dual wield, and my two-hander is the destruction staff. And let's start with this one. So I've been testing the Engulfing Flames right now. It's like, the reason why I use this one is when you use your Molten Whip, this is your main single target ability. You do a lot of damage with it, about 10,000 or more. And when you have this slotted, your Ardent Flames, all your abilities just increased by 90 the damage. So this is why I'm using Engulfing Flames, just kind of testing additional damage. Not really sure if I should switch it up, but overall I'm just testing it at this point. Talons is under your Draconic Power. Now this is your AoE for your single target or your melee bar. It pretty much immobilizes your enemies, and then it does flame damage over time. So that's like if you're in a group and you can't, like, single target, that's your AoE. Structured Entropy, you want this one just because it increases your spell damage by 20%. And when slotted, you increase your max health by 7%. That's a lot. So you guys are going to see this in action. And then your Inner Light, what that does is it gives you spell critical rating, so which boosts your damage a little bit higher and increases your magicka. So pretty much these two buffs are very important. You're going to want these. They're under the Mages Guild. And you want to get all the passives along with Meteor. Now I understand if you don't have mod or like an add-on that shows you the lore books, getting a Meteor is going to take a really long time. So I do have a guide for that, just showing you where all the lore books are if you want to check it out. It's not really a big deal. But Meteor is a very good ability. It takes a long time to level up as well. And yeah, so that's our first bar. Our second bar is still kind of a work in progress because there are two things you could use in terms of like Inner Light. Let's say you're all DPS, you could use it for Sea of Flames. Now what this thing does is essentially what this thing Inner Light does, except it shoots a fireball off, and it's a slightly more damage, but you don't get the extra magic. So it's kind of personal preference, but I might be switching to Sea of Flames later once I get the helm that procs to Meteor. So as of right now, I do not have it, so I'm using Inner Light. So Talons, as usual, your AoE. I might switch this up for something else, but as of right now, it's pretty good. And then Ring of Fire is the reason why we have a Destruction Staff. Now this is under this Elemental Ring. It's pre-morph, it's called Impulse, and the Elemental Ring, it just does a surge of damage, like bam, AoE. And then your Molten Whip for single target, just in case you need it. And then Coagulating Blood is your heal ability. It is under the Draconic Power. It pretty much just gives you health back when you cast, and then your Inner Light. So, let's switch up to our main bar. As you can see here, take a quick look at my spell damage and critical. When I use my Inner Light, the critical goes up by 10%. And that's good. Alright, so let's go around. And remember how I said Structured Entropy? It increases your spell damage by 20%. You can only use it when there's an enemy around, and it's kind of like a small buff. So hopefully it doesn't kill these things. I might actually have to like find a new area. But primarily I'm just showing you what it's like. So 2302. Take a look at it right now. Alright, so now when you see it, it's 2762. That's nuts. That goes up by 400. A little over 400. So then, pretty much you want to cast it, and then you're going to use your Molten Whip. As you guys can see. This is kind of a bad example because they all die in one shot. But just in general, how you would use it. Let's say if you were to, like, in a real battle, what you would do is do this immediately, and then you would just Flame Whip over and over again. But primarily, if you want, you could switch up to your second bar, and then just like heavy attack. And then the longer you hold it down, going, and then it does like 14,000. So I have an add-on that just shows you what it's like, and then heavy attack 14,000. That's pretty good. That's a lot of damage actually. All right, so let's find a little group of enemies right now, and I'll show you how it would work if you were like pulling a group of mobs. Fuck, that's annoying. People over here. Alright. Alright, let's see. We can pull an group of enemies. I'm killing them kind of fast. You could Talons them, or another thing is you want to... Yeah, this is definitely a bad spot to show you an example, but generally if there's a group of mobs, you just pull off the impulse. You could stun them, then impulse them. That's your AoE abilities. That's why you switch up your bar. And then for single target main DPS, you're going to want to just do that. So you only need structured entropy on one bar for the most part, but if you want to like maximize DPS, you can have two. But as a Dragon Knight, you just have way too many abilities to have things double socketed or slotted, so that's annoying. But overall, you guys can see like the Flame Whoop did about 10,000, my regular heavy did about 15,000, and the reason why is because you have these two buffs for the most part, and it increases your magic and spell critical, and this one is increasing your spell damage. So critical plus damage equals more damage, and pretty much as you can see, like the spell critical, like that means it's your chance to hit a critical damage or a hit. So it's almost at 50%, and then that one it would be at 2,800 with the structured entropy up. So what else? Champion points. Now this one is kind of hard to like determine because everyone has a different amount, and it's just like I can't really give you more damage by this way. But for Magic Dragon Knight, what you're gonna want is to put them all into the Apprentice. You're gonna want to put them into Elemental Expert, just because, as you can see, it increases your flame, frost, and shock damage. And for my abilities, literally all of them are fire, so flame gives it a bonus. Okay, and then the other two really, for the most part, don't matter, but I'll just show you what I put it in, just so you can see. Now, under the tower, you have an ability called the Magician. It reduces the magic cost of spells, and it just makes things cheaper, so why not? And now under the red one, you want to put it into the Lady. This one is kind of like a mix. It doesn't really matter what you put it in, but I put it in here. It increases your light armor by 6%, but I've been told to put it under like Spell Shield just because you increase your resistances. So it's kind of like testing it back and forth, but this is what I did from pretty much 1 to 14. Reducing damage, and it's good for PvP. So this build is both good for PvP and PvE. However, there are slight changes I would make if you were going PvP. Now, obviously in PvP, people are actually good and have more than above average armor, and weapons. So what you would want to do is replace your sword or a second sword with a shield. You would want to switch up some, like right now I have 7 pieces of light armor. You might want to have like 1 or 2 heavy pieces and then 5 light, just because that way you still get your damage and you get to survive longer, which is kind of important in Cyrodiil. As you may imagine, the maps are huge and walking back after death kind of sucks. So you give up a little bit of damage, maybe like 200 damage, just to have a lot more survivability. Your spell resistance would be a little bit higher, maybe in your 15,000-20,000s, depending on what you're wearing. My weapons right now are solid. They're, I would say, above average, but obviously not the best because not one, they're not legendary, and 2, you see how it says sharpened? There's an item called Nirnhoned, and what that does is increases it by like double. So right now it's at 6%. Nirnhoned would be like 9 or 10% each. They're also like triple or like 10 times the price of it. So right now, as you can see, this is kind of like a more or less a budget build, except for the rings. You're gonna have to go hard on the rings with that. You're gonna spend like $250,000 just for them. But overall, that was my build. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And yeah, so from what I saw, like 10,000 for the whip, 15 regular heavy. But like if I had a second piece of the helmet of the Scoria and dropped a meteor, I would be averaging like 16,000 DPS average. And this one isn't really a good one to show, but yeah, overall you guys got to see a little example. If you have any questions, let me know how you can build anything. I have, for the most part, know about most classes and all the builds, what you should do. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Let me know why. And that's what I've been using. And for your ultimates, I think I forgot to mention it. You're going to want to use Meteor for PvE. And if you're doing PvP, you're going to want to switch it up to a Dawnbreaker of Smiting, just because it does extra damage and single target. Well, primarily you want to use it in a group, but it's fine using it on single target because the ultimate regens pretty quickly. So yeah, any questions, let me know. That's my build, over 10k DPS, and yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching.